Glad to have you back. Now, that's Nigeria's debt stock has been on the rise since the country obtained a debt pardon from her foreign creditors in 2006 is no longer news.
Yes,
but,
indeed.
Yeah, the country's debt profile now stands at 19.2 trillion naira has become a source of worry to many.
Of even more concern is the disclosure by the Debt Management Office, or DMO, that Nigeria spends 34% of her revenue on debt servicing alone. And Finance Minister Kemi Adeosun says she is confident that the federal government's revenue and debt management strategy would reduce the country's debt service risk and fast-track development.
The minister made the statement in response to warnings by the International Monetary Fund that Nigeria should check the rate of its borrowing. But Adeosun says further borrowings from foreign partners would help mobilize revenue while reducing the nation's debt burden by lengthening the maturity profile. We have a financial expert, Lekon Shote, in the studio to talk to us more about this. Of course, we know that the debt strategy basically is for the government to refinance existing local debts by borrowing more foreign loans, telling us that it is cheaper to manage. You believe this is a good strategy?
Ordinarily, yes. You know, I mean, what it essentially means is that you are taking a more expensive, you are shall we say, retiring a more expensive loan, and they are taking a substitute that is lower than that. That's fantastic. That's good.
You think
on paper,
yeah,
it's good.
My own
but let's look at the strategy that's been on since 2016. It's supposed to run for till 2019.
Yes.
The strategies that the DMO has been using over this few years. I mean, this is 2018. Okay. At face value, have those strategies been working? The aim, number one, is to ensure that the cost and risk profile of public debt portfolio remains within acceptable limits. Can we say that that's what it really is?
I think so. I mean, let's be honest. When they do something good, let's say it. I mean, well, the strategy really is 2 or 3-fold. One, we are taking cheaper foreign loans as a substitute for more expensive local loans. You are also transiting or exchanging short-term loans, domestic, for long-term. You know,
so-called remixing.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. So if you ask me, ordinarily, it is okay. But my concern is, are we taking loans to be servicing loans?
36%.
Are we taking loans to be, out of every 1 naira that you get, 36 kobo is going to service loans. Servicing. If you look at this year's budget, if you ask me, we said about 30.8% of the budget is even embedded in that capital expenditure. Is still some loans in terms of outstanding debts to contractors. So if we are just taking loans to, and then somebody tells me that well, you know, by taking foreign loans, you are
debt
avoiding.
servicing in the 2018 budget is 2.014 trillion naira.
You know, that's even the outstanding. I'm even talking about. There's already even the sinking fund, which we're not talking about.
Exactly.
You know.
Just for debt servicing.
And then even within the capital budget, the 2 point something.
Yes.
Within it, there is outstanding debts to be paid to contractors. That's a loan, if you ask me.
But many analysts are saying that, yes, like you just said, that, yes, it's fine to take foreign loans, it's cheaper to manage, but though that the gray areas might not even be known to many. And what projects are you carrying out?
That's the question.
That's one point, like you said. But then, it seems the Nigerian economy and then the government's plan is wholly dependent on oil generation, the oil sector, so which is vulnerable to many shocks.
Vulnerable. And they have told us, well, they are now trying to diversify. If what I have been reading makes sense, I mean, it's true, it appears that there is a drive to increase other revenues. You know, taxation. I'm sure you've heard of GATES now. Yes. You know, a lot of people who are not paying tax are going to be dragged into the net to be paying their taxes. You know, of course, you heard
Even the,
what happened last year. JAMB posted a huge return to government. The customs, what customs paid in about 6 or 7 months is much more than what customs has been paying for the past 4 or 5 years put together. I mean, it shows you that there is, and then of course, agriculture. But my worry, the question, one of the advantages they tell me is that, well, now you don't crowd out domestic corporate players from domestic loan, from the banks. And I'm asking myself, first, the portfolio of non-performing loans is so high.
So about 6 trillion.
It's so huge. Now, therefore, the banks and the interest rate is already high to start with. Those are disincentives.
The possibility of reviewing it downward, maybe
until then.
Until then,
so when you are looking at a situation where interest rate is high, and of course you have a high degree of level of NPL, and then I can't see much of infrastructure on ground. What money we are taking is to service loan and to pay salaries. If they tell you that 165 billion naira is used to pay salaries every month, and most of it is coming from loan.
Yeah, but the Bretton Woods institutions, the IMF, the World Bank, they've been praising Nigeria's strategies so far, though in the same breath,
I will take that with a pinch of salt.
In the same breath, they have said there are concerns, and
then they are changing their mindset.
Yeah, so I wonder what to make of this.
Somebody now kicks, and then they say, we are not quite concerned. I don't, they are speaking from both sides of their mouth, so I'm not going to take the World Bank very seriously over this issue. But what I was trying to say is that, the banks, from where you say you don't want to crowd out local players in the industry, because of the high degree of NPL, as well, of course, the interest, which, of course, is a disincentive for corporate players to come and take loans. What happens is that the funds in the banks is channeled to treasury bills, back to government. To pay, interest again. So there are some things that I'm not very clear. I think we need to, there's need for...
Is it possible for you to make us understand exactly what could be playing out? I mean, they say they don't want to crowd out the domestic, players.
Yeah,
and
you say
it seems
so.
at the end of the day, that's exactly what they're doing.
When your interest rate is high, to start with, and then infrastructure. I've told you several times here.
That 14% that it will be given to local
producers. There's always going to be a spread. Yeah,
absolutely.
You see, I've told you several times on this set.
Yeah,
my family is involved in 2 textile factories. At the peak, we will employ about 1,200 people. None of the factories is working now. Neither is working. When you get there now, all you see is a female security guard and snakes and reptiles running all over the place. Do you understand? Doesn't that tell you that that reduces the number of players that will take loans from the banks? And why did we have the problems we're having? It is because of the infrastructure deficit in this country. So if we are taking loans...
But the government is trying to address that.
Well, they're trying.
We call the Sukuk bond.
Yeah. Well, you see, what I'm saying is that what are you spending the money on?
On road infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen quite... I mean, you can see the Lagos Express Road. You can see some things. And we hear about power plants and so on, being resuscitated or even expanded, even new ones coming on. And we are even told now that transmission capacity is beyond 5,000 mega now to 7,000 mega, which is okay, but it is not enough for, I mean, why do we call it infrastructure deficit? Because it doesn't meet our needs. The roads are not enough. We need railway lines. For example, we have been talking about Calabar-Lagos railway line. Nobody is addressing it seriously. True. We need to have
because population has to be considered in whatever figures you're looking at and analyzing.
Think of it this way. I ran a factory for 10 years, and I keep saying that if a lot of my clients that are textile factories are in Lagos, and I'm somewhere in Ogun State. If the railway line comes from Lagos to where I am in Ogun State, I can use my shuttle trucks to collect goods from the railway, which they will freight to me. Within 2 hours, it's already at.
But don't you think that,
in Ogun
you know,
State. I can do my job.
Things
I
are
can do the
looking...
job and return the jobs the same day.
Yeah.
But where there's nothing like that, I have to send my truck to Lagos.
That is how
it's been. Journey.
That's how it's been in the past.
Yeah.
But going forward, it
Yeah.
looks like things might just change, especially
well,
with
we have not yet
the rail infrastructure,
Yes,
which President Buhari in his New Year's speech,
good,
you know, did
but
talk a lot
we
about.
Don't have, we need to talk about what is on ground now.
Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have to keep talking about, keep flogging it until we get to where we are going.
But the investors seem to have a lot of confidence. I mean, Nigeria's, the Eurobonds, I mean, all the, they're all selling out.
So,
They are all being,
let me tell you
they're all
something.
being oversubscribed. What exactly is going on? What are they seeing?
Your
What are
diaspora
they seeing that
bond,
we are
I'll
not
tell
seeing?
you what they are saying.
Okay.
Treasury bills. Interest in the treasury bills.
Your diaspora bond
Yeah.
actually was 130%. It was oversubscribed. But the point is that, why do we call you emerging market? Why do you say Nigeria is emerging? What it means is that, one, you have resources, we have oil, we have all kinds of things. We have a huge market. I'm sure that you know that the rate of use of Android phones, even internet in Nigeria, is higher than the rate in some foreign countries, in some European countries.
Very true. Very true.
We are here sitting down and we have a lot of needs. And we have, shall we say, an ATM in the oil freebie that comes to us. And we just take it. They just take the money, give it to civil servants, give it to contractors, who then come to the market to come and spend money.
Based on the reports that came out in the papers this morning, whatever gains we're making in the oil sector, we're still losing to the same oil sector. Look, Nigeria has spent about $5.8 billion to import petrol.
You know, somebody was, I was listening to a soundbite, some tapes yesterday, and somebody was saying that, I just hope that somebody will take the idea of modular refineries more seriously.
Okay,
you know,
more seriously.
It's a huge expenditure. It's a huge project. It takes time to even install. But let's see more activities in this area.
Were giving out at one point.
Otherwise, you just keep, you take your crude oil, you take it out, and then you bring it in at a higher cost. It doesn't make sense. Meantime, we have refinery that can do 445,000 barrels per day.
Well,
and yet we are not getting anything.
Dangote refinery is coming up.
Dangote
there's already
is
an agreement of setting up Katsina refinery. Edo State is thinking of setting
I've
up
heard.
modular refinery.
In fact, I think about 2 weeks ago, a modular refinery project was launched. They haven't, it's not started working, but I think in Port Harcourt area. All
right, the introduction of the investors and exporters window by the CBN, many have said, has really encouraged the investors to have more confidence in coming to the country to do business. But then, that's what I want to go. Treasury bills, like we talked earlier on, is the attraction. This is having adverse effect on FDA, and that is supposed to be what will truly drive the economy of any country at the long run, not the short run. So what should the government be doing about that, especially because it seems the government is benefiting from it, so it's encouraging this to FDIs instead of FDA?
Well, essentially, let's put it like this. There's an angle that people forget in this debt strategy. Okay. It is that when you get private entrepreneurs to invest in infrastructure, you are going to indirectly sort of reduce the need for government to spend money either from revenue made or from debts.
But they'll still look for a way to make their money back.
You know,
and that's where suspicion
you are going to pay tax to them, to government, you know, and all that. But the point is that when, like I said, if as soon as when you decide that, okay, we're talking about modular now, modular refineries now. Now, if that is done, wouldn't you have thought that government would not have to have looked for money to finance the Edo modular that you are talking about, and the other ones that you are talking about, the Dangote that you are talking about? So $50 1,000 barrels per day. That's probably the biggest in Africa right now when they conclude the project, you know. But there's something I even understand. I'm not too clear about that. I'll be asking questions, but I've not gotten that the Dangote project is facing more of fertilizers than supplying petroleum products to us. So we need to clarify that so that we're not just taken away by
Why
some
even
hype.
depend on a private business really as a country as big as Nigeria is? Because many are talking about, Dangote refinery is coming
it's a smart way to go. I just said that if you let's put it this way, that their strategy also, by the time you get private investors to go into supply, if you like, of infrastructure, you then have less need to spend money, either your revenue or loan on such infrastructure.
In other words, like experts would say, it is better for the private sector to actually lead in the loans or debt.
That's right. If you read about the story of some countries, like America, for example, the railway line in America was actually developed by some people. The industry was developed by some individuals.
All right. And that's
so much to talk about
some
on
of the
this,
effects that inflation could even worsen as we inch closer to the third quarter of the year because of the electioneering period we'll enter into. Thank you very much for your analysis. Nicholas Shonte, you're a financial expert. Thank you for coming to
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Of course, we'll still have to revisit this particular issue from time to time.